Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Starship Troopers. It's a movie starring a dude, and then has Carmen Electra and some other people that I kind of vaguely recognize. Uh, j- yeah, it has people you'll probably recognize, but not remember the name of. So as always, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the furry. To start off the furry, there's gigantic, like huge bugs in this one. So if you're a bug furry fan, there are bugs in this uh, chompy bits. Anywho, moving on to the good and the bad. So this movie is awesome and hilarious, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Caveat: I may be having a bit of rose-colored glasses on because I first watched this when I was too young to probably have been watching this movie. So I just remember it being a cool action film with like some lighthearted and fun things, but just awesome, like over the top action. And it still has that. What I will say is that I have also a couple of years ago watched Starship Troopers 2 and 3 and I think 4, or maybe it was the animated one. Anywho, those are hot garbage because they cut the budget to the point where the guns that they're firing are not actual ammunition. They just blink light, and then they, I don't know, added sound effects afterwards. But they're just like as it's like beep 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 on the light, but it's supposed to be like bullets firing. So, and then like CGI was just totally shit, just god awful movies. And I think one of them still had one of the characters from this movie. I don't want to say who, because in a movie like this, where there's bugs killing motherfuckers all over the place, maybe one or more of the main cast dies. I don't want to spoil that for you. So, but somebody that you would recognize from this one was in those. But those are garbage. Don't bother watching them. I think maybe they brought like the fourth one. It got like a little better, but just don't. Just don't bother. There's enough of a wrap up. The ending on this one, I think, wraps things up enough that I felt it was a satisfying ending. It has some interesting concepts, like right in the opening, it talks about how, like, in order to gain citizenship to be able to vote, one of the quickfire ways is to join the military, and that is an interesting concept. It's an interesting idea to have things like some type of governmental service before you can vote about the government, so that I'm not going to get into like the good and the bad of that, or benefits, or negatives, or how that could even be implemented. But I thought it was an interesting concept to see a possible future interpretation of that having taken place. The other thing that was kind of fun was they would have these, like, essentially they're commercials. You know how at the beginning of Planet Terror, or Grindhouse, I guess technically, there was the previews for movies that were very pulpy in that same vein, but those movies didn't exist initially. Well, in this one, there's not like so much ad breaks for the movie, but it's just like, as I don't know, in between certain scenes, they'll have these what are clearly ads for like the mobile infantry needs you today, sign up. And then there's like a tab thing at the top where, like some mouse type thing clicks over and it's like, no, would like to know more, or news, or other things. And so you get little news hits here or there, or little bits of information. And just how they implemented that to give exposition without forcing super duper duper clunky dialogue, I thought that was really an interesting way to do it. And how they implemented like space travel was fine. But this is, more of a coming of age story, if you will, because it was a little confusing because, so he's a football guy playing against some other football guy, and he has a girlfriend, and then like rival football guy, like, falls over into the sideline, whatever it's called, and like lands near her, on her, and so they have like this moment. So he's like, essentially like, back off my girlfriend, bro. And he's like, whatever, bro. And so then they join up in the military. He's clearly joining up to stay with his girlfriend, which I don't know how you think you're going to stay with your girlfriend. That's not how any military like works currently. It's just not how the military works. Like, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever friend doesn't get to stay with you. You could be stationed on completely opposite sides of the globe, or in, Starship's Troopers universe, opposite sides of the galaxy. And she's going officer, and you are clearly going enlisted. Like, wait, did nobody explain this to you? They just said, don't do it, it's bad. And then you were like, no, we're gonna do it anyway. This is gonna go perfectly. Like, what? No. But anywho, so she joins, and then immediately-ish, her flight instructor is that guy that was playing football against what I believe was supposed to be high schoolers. So, was there just some other league? Because it felt like, based on the prom type atmosphere and that whole business, that it felt like these were supposed to be high schoolers. They definitely looked like they were graduating college in terms of the actors' ages, like Jesus. But this was made in, I think, the 90s, when, high school actors were played by people in their mid-30s that looked like they were in their mid-30s type of thing. So, I don't know exactly how old they're supposed to be, but it felt like it was supposed to be high school. But based on that one dude, maybe it was supposed to be college, but based on his just total ineptitude and unrealistic expectations of the world, I feel like it had to have been high school, because that's the only way you could justify him being so naive about people's lives' paths. But whatever. Other than that, it was a lot of fun. Like, if you enjoyed I think it's Full Metal Jacket, the opening part where they're like in basic and just kind of that experience. If you kind of enjoyed that style, there's quite a bit of that, but with a more sci-fi and more, a more extreme take, because they're just taking everything to the extreme. The bullets are extreme, the armor's extreme, the punishments are extreme, the how you're gonna teach people. It's not the kinder, gentler military of today. This was 1990s thinking hey, how can shit get more hardcore? And I think it's just such an interesting idea and implementation for that. But clearly, based on some battles and how some of those battles went, I don't know if they just killed or just never hired, but strategery was not involved in any of the battles that we saw some of the stuff in the beginning. The battle, who planned their attacks in this movie? The same people that probably planned the defense of Westeros in season 8 of Game of Thrones. Same people, terrible strategies, terrible planning, terrible placement of troops and supporting and everything else. There must not have been a military college. It was hey, people who fly, and then mobile infantry, and no strategists. But still super fun time, because if you think about oh, what about that strategy? Then you start to think about okay, well, how would the rest of this world work, and how would this work, and how... None of that fucking matters, because who dudes are fucking shooting the shit out of bugs with big ass guns and blasting them away, and there's blood and guts of the bugs everywhere. It's not super gory of alive people, but there is definitely some publicity, propaganda shots of a bunch of dead mobile infantry as part of the commercial thing. So there is some, I'm going to call it that graphic, but you don't get to see them explode necessarily, and the ones that you do see get attacked in what you would imagine a mashy bug would do to a person. It's not super duper focused on the gory bits of them. It's about the oh my god, this person's dead, and then moving on to oh, another person's dead and whatnot. So again, I don't know what age you should see this. There's also some titties in this that I distinctly remember. They have co-ed showers, so I think that is something that the military should adopt. I think that would go well. But it was such a fun time. And again, I'm coming from the perspective of having watched this as a much younger person, and then seeing the over-the-top action for this. You can interpret this a whole bunch of different ways and much more in-depth ways, but other than Doogie Howser's outfit at the very end, I feel like you can just gloss over a whole bunch of that reading into-ness and just enjoy the over-the-top action movie that this is, in my opinion. Because that, I think, is what makes this an enjoyable time. Because, then if you start really thinking about it, then you're okay, well, why did they... You just don't. So, spoiler alert, for a part that just bugged me. Bugged me. But, so there's these two people, and they're trapped because they're impaled by a bug, and this guy we see them in establishing shot before this happened. He put a knife in his boot from the, like, emergency kit. And then he is farther forward with, again, super spoilers, please. If you haven't seen the movie, 2 thumbs up, go see it first. But okay, so they're trapped because, like, a bug has, like, her pinned and has him pinned in the leg. And then he's farther forward, and bug that is clearly going to suck out your brains is coming forward, and he, like, hands her the knife behind him. And then the thing comes up and, like, stabs into his head and eats his brain, and then it's about to do the same thing to her, and she takes said knife and slices the, like, head-piercing, protuberant, like, giant mosquito-sucking thing from the alien creature, like, cuts it and, like, spews and, like, runs away. If noble, heroic McGee had just fucking kept the knife, he could have done that shit and not gotten his brain sucked out. So that just bugged the hell out of me. Most of the other shit I can totally forgive, but that was just, like, you just really wanted that character to die for him to do that, because that was just dumb. But I loved the tactical nukes. Tactical nukes. That's just fun. See what I mean? Like, it's fun. And, like, having all... Okay, since we're in spoiler area, having all those ships, like, above the planet when they're getting, like, shot with all those, like, the bug splooges, if you will. Why are you so close together that when one of you gets hit, you hit the... Like, you crash into another ship, and you have an entire planet to surround, and you're all right above the battlefield? Like, I get you want to drop your soldiers in, but you can still be a little bit further away because, like, from this point to space, you can come from many different areas and still land on the same thing with, you know, approximately the same distance away while being spaced out more. So, very terrible tactics there. But, visually, very interesting. And that's another one of the things that, since you're this far, I'm going to point out anyway, but this was made in the era of, like, miniatures. So, it holds up so much better than, like, early 2000 CGI. Early 2000 CGI, a lot of times, just does not hold up because they went too hard on the capabilities that they just didn't have at the time. And CGI is one of the things that just ages so quickly. But miniatures, especially of spaceships and space activity, can look realistic even today. Like, if you go back and look at Star Wars, if you can manage to find one of the not special editions that probably cleaned up a bunch of the other unrelated shit without even ignoring all the bullshit, like, little CGI robots that they added, but by and large, the actual, like, ships and battles and whatnot that were going on in Star Wars, the original trilogy, still looks great today. And miniatures, man, they are an underappreciated thing. And they had so many cool, not necessarily memorable shaped ships, but just the amount of ships. It's like the mid-90s, whenever this was made, mid-90s-ish version of Episode 2, the opening of Episode 2, or was it the opening of Episode 3? That awesome space battle that they opened with. I think it was Episode 2. Yeah, that they just opened with where, like, Kenobi and Anakin are just, like, zooming around, and there's all the, like, it's just a battle over the planet. Like, that was awesome. And this movie's spaceship battle, not as awesome. It can't be that awesome because that's a whole nother scale. But just what they were able to achieve with the miniatures and just the tense and the energy that they were able to achieve, and realisticness. Because yeah, there was a couple times on the planet where once it, like, chomps on somebody, you're like, okay, and now that's an animatronic thing. But that is a testament to how good the CGI was of the bugs being all chompy, that they pretty much hold up. The CGI of the bugs holds up, and all the things going on above the planet holds up. Like, the overall graphical quality of this movie is just fantastic. So if you're looking for a fun action time that you don't think too hard about and just enjoy the, humans defeat, well, I'm not going to say defeating, because, well, you know what, we're in spoiler territory. I mean, they don't technically defeat them in this movie, but you know they're fucking gonna, because they got that brain bug, But if you're looking for that kind of movie, just having a fun time where humans killing aliens and, gunfire and all that jazz, you're gonna have a great time with this movie. So 2 thumbs up. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the next one. Bye.